They didn't make any moves to follow him as he neared the turnoff back onto the highway, so he figured he was in the clear. Were we just stopped by cops? He looked over as Raven slowly sat up in her seat. Yeah, just checking my registration. That's all, he explained as he could hear her yawn. The fact that Synths yawned always amused him. Then she began to reach out and stretch as best she could while still buckled up in her seat. We almost to town? She asked then, clearly just waking up and trying to figure out where they were. Not far now, he nodded. This early, the road into Gullhaven was pretty empty. It was a gray, overcast sky hanging over the town, the old amusement park on the outskirts still dark, the shadowy structures and rides looking more ominous than inviting with the weeds and vines growing all over them. Things were improving, but he figured it would still be a while before they had the means, let alone the desire to open an amusement park these days. Yet just as he thought about that when they passed the main entrance, he saw a few vans parked out front. Landscapers, if he read the signs right. Maybe someone was planning to do something with it? Or they were just going to try and clean it up before selling it. Curious, but he shrugged it off as they drove on into town. The laughter of the gulls soon filled the air as they got closer to the center of town. Gullhaven was set up on a natural delta as Blood, Sufis, and Polensk rivers all met the ocean here. It used to be a bit of a vacation destination for the people living in Basin to the south before the war. The delta made for good fishing, plus the marshes were turned into gardens that made for great romantic environments at dusk, while firebugs filled the air between the low, broad trees. Since the end of the war, it had actually grown larger since refugees from Basin headed north, and it had been unimportant enough to fight over. Though the hotels, gardens, and luxury restaurants had been left to fall to ruin, as much more practical and dense habs had been built around the edges instead. The naturally brackish water used to be good for the local gulls to get food, which was how the town had gotten its name. But these days the gulls mostly seemed to feed on leftovers and trash, all too complacent with human food. Though that did mean the local fishers had less competition over the bounty of the delta. While the crested gulls weren't actually the same as their Earth counterparts, as far as he was concerned, a gull was a gull. Scavengers you had to protect your fries from. Soon, he pulled them into a small parking lot near the center of town besides an old electronics shop. As he got out of the car, he walked around to the hatch and opened it up so he could pick up his bundle of scavenged parts, letting Raven close the hatch behind him as he carried the bundle into the store. As soon as he entered, he could hear the chime from the door sensor and with it movement in the back of the store. The shelves around the store were still filled with the usual assortment of scrap and scavenged tech he remembered. Up front, it was mostly old Steward bots that didn't work as well as stereo equipment, and even a few bigger vid screens that would be hard to steal. The working stuff was in the glass counter at the back of the store. Behind that was a doorway with hanging beads in colorful patterns. Beads that were pushed aside by the shop's owner who finally stepped out. Ah, look who has returned. And with gifts! Gifts, nothing, Cov. Jaeger shot back as the Xeno grinned wide. If the Ravex were werewolves mixed with lizards, then Japasi were foxes mixed with birds of paradise. They were typically a bit smaller than humans on average, but close in height. Short muzzles, triangular ears with fur coats, and yet also full heads of hair. Their bushy tails would also spread and unfurl like many birds, though this was purely for showing off and served no useful purpose, as far as he knew at least. Though any Japasi would insist their tails were of great use when it came to attracting mates. As Jaeger approached, he set his bundle of scrap on the counter, then used the back of his right hand to pat Cov's right shoulder while the Xeno did the same to him. From there, he patted his own left shoulder and then down his body as he mimicked the dance the Xeno was going through, twisting and turning on the spot until Cov finally ended it with a big hug as he pulled Jaeger in close, kissing each side of his jaw as Jaeger returned the gesture. For Japasi, any greeting that didn't involve dancing and some form of kissing wasn't any real greeting at all. It is good to see you as always, my friend. Kuv smiled as he pulled back from Jaeger and then gasped as he saw Raven. Ah, but even better to see your beautiful daughter. My offer still stands, you know. 3 Clyden and 2 goats for her. Raven laughed and approached the Xeno, who did another quick dance with her before kissing either cheek of her mask while hugging her close. My 2 favorite people on this planet, the Xeno grinned. What about Max? Raven asked. He knows what he did. The Xeno lifted his nose and sniffled for a moment as Raven giggled before removing her mask. You haven't found any synth hair yet, have you? She asked, and the Xeno shook his head with an expression so mournful one might think someone had just died. Alas, despite all my searching and exemplary skills as a scavenger, I have not yet acquired any. It is a tough item to find these days. The Xeno rubbed his white and blue-furred face for a moment before shrugging. Oh well, you can view my other goods, of course, for which for my favorite people you shall pay full price. Raven giggled again as he said that. You're so generous, Cov, Jaeger said deadpan as the Xeno gasped with mock outrage. You are lucky I do not charge you more. Doing business with the dead isn't so lucrative now as it once was. And not to mention all the dirt I get on my fancy shovel to dig them up. Oh wait, no, that's the wrong type of dead, isn't it?